We're live. Hey, Billy, how are you?
I'm good, Mary Angela. How are you?
I'm good, good. Thank you so much for joining us, joining Alpaca in this live interview.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So you're in Austin, right?
I am. I am.
Okay. How's the weather over there right now?
Today, unsurprisingly, it's sunny and hot.
Hmm.
Not as hot as it has been, but definitely sunny and hot.
Yeah.
Yeah. What
Okay.
about you?
Breathable and livable.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I'm in Mexico City, and the weather is kind of coldish, a little bit cold for me, I guess.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Sounds
Yeah.
awesome.
Let's see. Okay, let's wait a little bit for people to join. I'm gonna go ahead and read the disclosures.
Cool, cool.
All views and opinions expressed by the guest speakers are solely their views and opinions and do not reflect or represent the views and opinions of Alpaca Securities LLC, Alpaca Crypto LLC, and AlpacaDB. The guest speakers' opinions are based on information they consider reliable, and therefore Alpaca Securities LLC, Alpaca Crypto LLC, and AlpacaDB do not warrant its completeness, accuracy, and it should not be relied upon as such. The content is for general information purposes only. Alpaca Securities LLC and Alpaca Crypto LLC do not recommend any specific investments, investment strategies, and or cryptocurrencies. Okay, so we got that out of the way. Let's see. So Billy Roberts from Wedge. Um, Thank you for joining again. I'm Mariangela Martinez, content marketing specialist at Alpaca. Today, we're pleased to be joined by Billy Roberts, founder of Wedge. Wedge's patent pending technology uses real time financial routing technology to help empower their customers. And I don't want to spill all the tea, so we'll leave it to Billy to go in depth. So tell us about yourself and about Wedge.
Yeah. Well, thanks again for having me. So obviously I'm Billy, co-founder and CEO of Wedge here in Austin. I grew up here in Texas. I'm a second-time founder, so started entrepreneurship, I guess, about 12 years ago now, give or take. Yeah, and realized, fortunately, early on that I really just love building great teams and great products. So I sold my last business in 2019, and then after that exit, just really started thinking about what to focus on next, and became just incredibly enamored with, some of the opportunities and some of the limitations that we saw in the fintech space. And so I started talking with them about with my co-founder Alex back in 2020, and the idea really just started to snowball on us. And before we knew it, we had a business.
What was your last business about?
Our last business was focused in the oil and gas space, and really it was a data analytics company. So we built a platform that allowed all these different data sets to be put together kind of in time and space in a way that for the first time allowed operators to go say, hey, if we go change stimuli X, we can see Y as a monetary result.
Okay.
Yeah, and so we built that and enjoyed the process and enjoyed working on it together and decided to do it again.
Wait, so oil to fintech. How was that jump like?
Um, I think for me, the thesis behind my previous business and Wedge were pretty thematically similar. So, both kind of required a new perspective in an
Mhm.
industry with a ton of institutional inertia. In oil and gas, we saw a lot of interesting novelty around data analytics and process optimization and so forth, but not a lot of utility as it pertained to, putting these tools that were coming to market to work in a way that could be, easily implemented and clearly monetized. And so in order to be successful, we had to look at kind of the issues associated with fragmentation and user experience and product market fit and all these different things in a new way, and then build a great team that could execute on a plan to build a better mousetrap. And so from my perspective at Wedge, it's a very similar kind of thesis and approach, right? We're looking at an industry with a lot of institutional inertia, a lot of interesting novelty, and our mission is to kind of take a look at the macro landscape and put all this novelty together in a way that can really create real utility for users. And so from my position and what I do, it's been certainly super interesting, but I I think on the technical side, there's a lot more complexity, a lot more regulatory compliance stuff that has to be contemplated.
Right. Yeah. So can you tell us what Wedge is about?
Yeah, for sure. So, our mission at Wedge is to really focus on empowering users to spend more efficiently. And so with Wedge, we've got one card, one wallet that enables users to spend using any asset in the way that works best for them. And today that includes, cash, ETFs, stocks, crypto, and then we've got a rewards program. And so what Wedge is about is really, creating a compelling alternative to credit cards and other debit products, right? Where you've got one account, one card that may or may not provide real benefits to the user in the way that it's used and kind of the risks associated with it. With Wedge, we wanted to create a one-to-many paradigm. So for the first time, users have one card that can connect to all these different funding sources. And all they have to do is go swipe, and then they can select the funding source that works best for them and creates the most upside and the least amount of risk.
Okay. And how does it work when you swipe? Do you like go in and choose
Yeah,
where?
for the most part, we've got some automation in there that folks can elect to use, but the beauty of it is that you get to use your card and then select if you want to use an asset afterwards. And so you go swipe, you get a notification, you have about 24 hours to address it. And Wedge lists out kind of all your different assets and, cash balances. And then, you can click a button and for the first time go buy coffee with Tesla stock or gold ETFs or Bitcoin, and really kind of see in a red light, green light way, which asset works the best for you. And if you don't want to use any assets, then you can just, use cash as you would with a normal debit card.
Okay. Okay, when it comes to product development, what's your process of deciding what to launch and creating a culture that makes it happen?
So that's an evolutionary process for sure. I think where we are today and what we try to stay true to is a ton of user testing, a ton of kind of market research, and a whole lot of kind of analytics as to how folks are actually, engaging with the app. So we want to focus on the 80% of the feature set that work, and not the 20% that, seems cool, but, isn't really creating that utility that I was talking about. And so when it comes to developing products, and I've got to be mindful of this because foundationally, I think I'm a product guy first and foremost. There's a lot of great ideas that we think would be really cool. But we've got a great team that does a super diligent job, a great job of kind of taking a look at what really matters, what can move the needle for folks in terms of creating, tangible value. And we map those things out, and those are the things that we focus on and decide to launch. As it pertains to, how we do that, as you hit on it, it's about building a great culture and a great team. And I was super lucky, to be able to partner with Alex, who I've worked with for several years now. But once again, we had a great team that kind of came around and works really, really well together, kind of in a multidisciplinary fashion. That's one of the things that's super compelling and interesting about the fintech space is, you've got tech dev and all that cool stuff going on, but like there's all this regulatory compliance piece that has to be contemplated from the get-go. There's the user journey and making sure that you've got a great customer experience and customer support network, and getting all these pieces together in a way that's harmonious and can actually turn out products in a meaningful way is something that I get really excited about here at Wedge.
Yeah. And how have the challenges been different for you with Wedge than the last one with oil?
I think oil and gas is interesting in that as big as an industry as it is, your actual kind of customer pool is quite small. I mean, you're talking about in our case, maybe 150, 200 different companies that you need to go sell to and you have to understand and so forth. Fintech, just even defining it is somewhat challenging because it spans so many different kind of disciplines around someone's financial well-being. So, one of the things that has been most evident is just kind of the need, and this gets back to what you're talking about with products, like of being focused and programmatic and surgical around, you know, what domino do you need to go knock over first in order to like create real value for folks? And so I think just the dynamic nature of, the fintech ecosystem as a whole is foundationally different than what we saw previously.
Right. Okay. Now, fundraising has fallen 43% year over year in the first half of 2022, according to Wall Street Journal. How does this affect startups like yours?
Yeah. So, you've got to plan for a lengthy process to be even more lengthy, and make sure that you're, tossing nickels around like they're manhole covers. We are incredibly fortunate to have an amazing group of folks that back us today. And we really look at the macro environment as an opportunity to further our technical and market position, where a lot of other folks are having to downsize and pare back their R&D spend. And so it's actually an interesting lesson learned from the oil and gas space where, it's always boom and bust, right? The funding cycles are like, so much more dramatic than they are kind of in the macro sense that we're seeing right now. So it was really good training going through that experience to come into this one because, what we found in that environment is the folks that are buckling down now and really building out their technical chops, really being diligent about product market fit in this environment are going to be the folks that are ready to go scale and blow up whenever, things turn around, which inevitably they will. And so that's kind of how we approach it. It's two sides of the same coin. You've got to be a little bit more mindful about where things are going and how you're going to get from A to B. But it creates a tremendous amount of opportunity at the same time.
Okay. Did you have trouble with that or not at all?
With Wedge?
With like fundraising?
In the past, I can say without hesitation that my fundraising thesis are wrong 100% of the time. So we always have an idea as to how we're going to get from A to B and what we're going to do. And for better or for worse, we never execute on that plan. But like I said, we've got this great team. We've got an amazing set of investors today. And so, even if we take a more circuitous route, we always get to where we need to go. It's always a learning experience, but it's not without its set of challenges.
Yeah. Make that the investors happy.
That's right.
So, okay. And how, so, you said, pay with stocks or ETFs or which stock or anything. But I saw in your site that you have an algorithm that chooses for you if you want, if you can, if you don't want to like choose for everything. How does that algorithm work or how did you came about it?
Yeah. So in its current form, really what we're doing is looking at, which combination of different assets could be deployed based on their individual cost basis to maximize the earnings for any particular transaction. So, if you've got a little bit of Tesla and some S&P 500 ETFs and some Bitcoin, what we'll do is we'll take the pennies from each of those at the most effective cost basis and put them together to cover the total transaction amount. And so we just make that super simple by, giving somebody a button, they can click it. It lists out kind of what the consequences associated with those trades are. And then, they can essentially click on a button and earn as much as they can every time they go buy a cup of coffee.
Okay. And when you say earn, is it like a cashback type of thing or?
It's kind of like, trading stocks and, buying at one price and selling at another. We just do that on a penny basis with all the equities that we support through Alpaca. And if you bought it $1 and now it's at $2 and you go, use that position to buy something, you've created some earnings for yourself.
Right. Okay. So what are Wedge's plans for the future? Where is it going? Where do you see it in 3 to 5 years?
When we kind of take a look at the macro environment and what we're seeing in the fintech space, there's this land war for, becoming the institution that holds someone's primary checking account, getting those deposits. When we look at our feature set at Wedge and kind of being spending focused, we see our tool best deployed through TradFi banking institutions, right? So there's a ton of value that folks can get at a traditional banking institution as it pertains to loans and guidance and CDs and all these other cool things that come with a bank that a lot of folks underappreciate these days. So looking in the future for us, what we want to do is continue our strategy of integrating with folks' banks, so that wherever you bank, being able to spend with Wedge becomes an expectation. The same way that a lot of banks deploy Zelle, right? You go to a bank, you get Zelle, you can move money around and so forth. That's our vision with Wedge. Is we really want to empower banks, empower customers to kind of extract real value from this fintech ecosystem, and from where we see the cards falling today, that's the most effective way to do that. So in 3 to 5 years, wherever folks are banking, they should hopefully expect to be able to deploy Wedge and spend with assets.
Yeah, right. Hopefully. Let's see, whoever our viewers, if you have any questions, we're happy to answer. Well, Billy's happy to answer them because I won't be able to answer them. Let's see. I don't know, what else do you want to tell us about Wedge?
It's for those folks that are listening, it's a really interesting kind of new way to think about spending, to think about investments, and for the first time to really take an equity outside the bounds of a brokerage into a point of sale. And what we've seen is that once we get somebody to use it for the first time, our engagement is incredibly compelling. We can get 35, sometimes 40 transactions on average per month per user, indicating we're getting to touch them twice a day in some cases, every time they go use that card. So if you're interested in taking a new look at how to deploy equities, figuring out a way to use crypto as a currency, want to get some cool rewards in the process, would definitely encourage folks to take a look at Wedge and let us know what you think.
Yeah. Now, question about the card. Is it only in the US? What happens if I use it out of the US? Transaction fees?
Yeah. So in order to use Wedge today, you've got to be a US citizen and have a US checking account. You can use it overseas. And then our network provider has some fees that sit on top of that are in our cardholder agreement. But yeah, you can take Wedge international. But for today, you've got to be a US citizen to go use it.
Yeah. Okay. Or have like a social security number.
Exactly.
Okay. Now, does it cost to ask for a card in Wedge, or like sign up?
So it doesn't cost to get a card. We do have a fixed monthly fee that gets waived if you use the card and hit certain thresholds. So most of our users, are putting, a good amount of transactions, a good amount of volume through the card on a monthly basis, so those fees are waived. But worst case scenario, we do have a fixed monthly fee.
Okay. Great. Okay. So I'm not American, but I do have a social security, so I might be able to.
Good to go.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. So for our viewers, if you want more information, you can visit them at wedge.us, and you can find them on Twitter for more updates at Wedge Financial. Or Billy, I don't know if you have a user for yourself on Twitter.
I think I do. It's been a while since I've used it. I'm pretty sure I'm.
Okay. So just Wedge Financial then for updates.
Wedge Financial would be great.
Sounds good. Perfect. Thank you so much for joining us and giving us the time. It was great having you.
Likewise. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.